everything that's transpired so far. Well, the US and the Israel have launched an attack on Iran as explosions were reported in Tehran. Sirens sounded across Israel at around 8:15 local time, alerting people of the threat of a possible missile attack. The Israeli strikes happened amid diplomatic efforts between US and Iranian officials for a deal to curb Iran's nuclear program and also to avert a war. And negotiations were expected to continue next week. Well, it's important to know that Iran had made concessions in the talks, although US President Donald Trump, who had previously threatened to attack Iran to put pressure on his leaders to accept a deal, said yesterday that he was not thrilled with the way the discussions were going. Trump has ordered the largest US military buildup in the Middle East since the US-led invasion of Iraq in 2003, but has done little to explain why there could be the need to take military action now. Well, Iran, meanwhile, has vowed to respond to an attack with force. Meanwhile, the Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz said the pre-emptive strike was to remove threats against the state of Israel. Now, remember, last June, Israel launched an attack on Iran, leading to the 12-day war. The US eventually joined Israel in the conflict, targeting Iran's 3 nuclear facilities. Recently, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has warned of what he described as a threat posed to his country by Iran's ballistic missiles and expressed his opposition to a deal that focused only on Iran's nuclear program. While Iran has rejected discussing limits on its ballistic missile program, and this as ending its support for proxies in the region, including Hamas in Gaza, Hezbollah in Lebanon, and militias in Iraq, and also the Houthis in Yemen, saying that those demands were a breach of its sovereignty. Well, 3 explosions have been heard in downtown Tehran, and this is according to Iranian media. It has received reports that several missiles have hit the Republic area of the Iranian capital. And to get us more details, we have Shivan Charna joining us on the phone line. Shivan, tell us more.
Diksha, this has been, I would say, the writing was on the wall, but even yesterday, the day before yesterday, when the talks completed, there was some sense that, okay, it is reaching somewhere. This I'm talking about the negotiations, but here we are. Preemptive strikes have been carried out. Reports are now suggesting about 30 targets across Iran, and these are not just regular targets. This has been in the heart of Iran. This includes the president's residence. It includes the supreme leader's office. And they have obviously been taken into cover. This is what reports are suggesting even now. The United States is carrying out joint strikes with Israel. It's not just Israel. It is US and Israel. So something that we saw a little later in last year's 12-day war, where US got involved a little later, carrying out those strikes on 3 exact locations, Fordo, Isfahan, across Iran. Now we're seeing both countries coming in right away. Now, just to give you a little more backdrop, there had coming from Donald Trump. 31st December, that's essentially 28th December is when Netanyahu met Trump in Florida. Soon after that, there were, violent protests taking place and a violent crackdown on those protests across Iran. Trump made it clear to Iran that if you do not stop this kind of a violent crackdown, we will get involved militarily. It did not happen from then. All through February, it went by, and now here we are on 28th of February, and that's when the preemptive strikes have taken place. This is not the first time we're seeing preemptive strikes from Iran from Israel towards Iran, but yes, this is yet another time that these strikes have taken place, and this time it's not just peripherally or taking out targets such as their air defense systems, as we had seen earlier. Right now, what we're seeing is that the heart of Iran has been targeted straight away. Now, just hours ago, about 15, 16 hours ago, just you can take that a day prior, the former defense minister of Israel, Yoav Gallant, he mentioned that the next few weeks are going to determine the coming decades in West Asia, in the Middle East. Now, that gives you a sense of what is to come. This is not going to be, at least that's what all the sources and all the hints are suggesting. It's not going to be a 2 or 3 day war because there has been enough preparation gone into it. The former defense minister is suggesting the next coming number of weeks. Iran has made it clear that we will not let this be limited to an Iran war. It's going to be a larger regional war. All these regions across West Asia where US has bases, it's Al Udeid base in Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Bahrain, all these nations, they have US bases. Al-Udeid is the largest base. That's where the war ended last time, the 12-day war, where Iran had targeted Al-Udeid, and that's where it ended. This time, you can perhaps imagine or expect the war to start from there when Iran retaliates, because there is going to be a retaliation. This country is not going to sit down quietly. They have a huge ammo of missiles. Their conventional weapons has sent enough tremors across the US, because Marco Rubio had been insisting, and the US president had been insisting, even in the recent State of the Union address, Donald Trump had made it clear that Iran is, they can target the US with the kind of weapons that they have. That's another fear that they have. And of course, I'm not even reaching the nuclear program, which never reached any kind of a breakthrough on the negotiation table. So here we are, preemptive strikes carried out, 30 locations, including the top offices of the president and the supreme leader. Now, an Iranian response is what one can expect. Going forward, the US Embassy in Qatar, it has implemented shelter in place for all personnel. Just days ago, the US had started reducing the number of non-essential staff across these bases that it has in West Asia. So US knows exactly what's coming their way when this war starts. Would it have started? That's something, there was enough debate around it that no, this is only meant for the negotiation table. Even recently, US President Trump had mentioned this to Steve Witkoff, that he was a little surprised that Iran had not capitulated till now on the negotiation table. Iran has held firm. And this is clearly on the basis of how well it is already armed. Even last year in the 12-day war, Israel did not come out of that war without damage. There were a number of deaths and a number of injuries which were caused because Iran has the capacity, Diksha. This is something all our audience should understand. Iran has the capacity to overwhelm Israel's famed air defenses with the sheer capacity and the volume with which they can fire missiles. And they have the capacity to reach across Europe, across Israel, and of course, even in the US. That's what Marco Rubio mentioned, that Iran's conventional weapons can target America and Americans. These are exact quotes I'm giving you. So all senses tell us that this is going to be, this is not going to end in a few days. How it happens, we need to obviously wait and watch. But this is what all the statements that are coming in are giving us that kind of a sense. Along with this, evacuation orders had already been given by a number of countries to, to ask their non-essential personnel in Israel to exit. US had said that already, that came 2 days back. And India had issued similar advisories to its nationals in Iran. Please leave with whatever mode of transport you find. So that had been happening. Of course, 25th, 26th February is where the Indian Prime Minister was in Israel. And after that visit ended. Here we are 2 days later, and the strikes have started. So this is going to be a long number of weeks to come, is what one is.
Of course, Shivan, we'll have to wait and see how the situation develops. But for now, thank you so much for getting us all those details.